Today on Games Up, we will be taking a closer look at Frutti di Mare, Veni, Vidi, Antipasti, the new grid movement and fighting game designed by Maarten de Schrijver and published by Black Box Adventures. In Frutti di Mare, Veni, Vidi, Antipasti, your inspirational king crab will be leading his army of dedicated frutti into battle, fighting against other rival seafood armies and striving to become king of the spaghetti plate. Each player begins with their king crab safely in his home base, one pearl, one mighty muscle worker frutti, and one cunning calamari. A player's turn is composed of 3 phases. In the income phase, the player receives 1 coin plus 1 additional coin for each mighty muscle standing on a worker space, and 2 additional coins for each shimmering scallop standing on a worker space. In the recruitment phase, the player may recruit frutti from the general supply. All frutti are explained in a personal menu that each player receives. Players must spend the indicated number of coins to hire new frutti, and they need to have an open recruitment space available. For example, here the player recruits sardines for 3 coins, and then a mighty mussel for 1 coin. In the last phase, the action phase, the player may move each of their frutti according to their movement abilities. For example, the school of sardines moves 3 spaces. The player may then also choose to fight if their frutti are in range of an opponent's frutti. To fight, the player rolls with the number of red combat dice corresponding to the fighting strength of the frutti. The opponent may be able to roll green protection dice if their frutti has defensive capabilities. A fighting frutti is successful if it rolls more swords than their opponent's protective shields. The defeated frutti is removed from the board and taken completely out of the game. The player continues his round by moving his rapid razor 1 step, so that the mighty muscle can then be moved onto the empty worker space. This will gain the player an additional coin in the next round, if the mighty muscle is not destroyed before then. The player has 1 shy shrimp left, which he wants to use to interfere with the economy of the other player. Unfortunately for him, the mighty muscle defends herself. At the end of their turn, the player uses his king crab to give the inspirational speech, "Long live the king," which lets him move his king crab 1 step. He also receives 1 pearl. Pearls are the health points of the king crab. There are 4 possible king crab inspirational speeches. 3 of them cost pearls. Each player can use only 1 speech per round at any time on their turn. If the king crab is being attacked, he rolls 1 special black king die. If the special symbol is rolled, the king crab avoids damage. If the king crab takes any damage from the fight, he loses the corresponding number of pearls. If a king crab has no more pearls, he is defeated and the player is eliminated from the game. Gameplay continues until one of the 3 following conditions is met. All king crabs are dead except for 1. That player is the winner. 1 player's Royal Frutti remains on the center space for 1 whole round of gameplay. 1 player's king crab makes it to the center space of the plate. Frutti di Mare, Veni, Vidi, Antipasti has an excellent funny theme. The artwork is really cute and kept very simple and streamlined. The frutti, and especially the creative names, are superb. And you definitely become attached to your frutti and feel invested in their success. Your little shy shrimp army feels a bit like family. Frutti di Mare can be played with everyone. It's easy to teach and easy to jump right into. But people will realize that there are still some tactical decisions to make. Do I want to play aggressively? Do I want to invest in a productive economy? Or do I want to recruit frutti quickly to disable the economy of other players? These different decisions are fun, engaging, and satisfying, especially in the beginning when everything is fresh, just like seafood. This is why our second gameplay with 5 players was one of the best board gaming experiences we had this year. But there are still a few negative points that are discussed below. Our second game lasted 90 minutes, which is, for a game with player elimination, quite a long time. Our longest session was a 4-player game, which lasted 2.5 hours. But the player elimination is something that players can control themselves relatively well. If you push into the middle with your king crab too early, you most likely will be defeated and kicked out of the game. And this brings us to the next problem. Playing risky and being more aggressive in a 4 or more player game is almost never rewarded. There are too many other players who can kill your king crab quickly. That's why our games with more than 4 players always followed a similar pattern. Everyone slowly builds up a decent-sized army. You maybe try to interfere with the economy of your opponents a bit, but then the real fighting starts after a longer time. And then the game goes another hour because no one tries to move into the center with their king until all of the strong frutti are defeated. And this is of course fine in terms of the course of the game, but it is something that should be pointed out. Frutti di Mare was always a long game for us, as we are not very aggressive players. But if everyone was still involved in the game, then we really enjoyed it nonetheless. Another minor problem for us has to do with the balancing of the frutti. It did become apparent during our plays that the cost-to-strength ratio for some of the frutti feels a little bit imbalanced. The rapid razors, for example, are slow, but very cheap, almost too cheap for their strength and defensive abilities, as they are hard to defeat. They definitely became a favorite frutti for many of us. The smoking salmon is too expensive for what he provides, which is fast movement and a strong attack, but absolutely no defense. So the smoking salmon is a quick and deadly assassin who is likely used as a last resort to fight off stronger frutti. So these cost to strength imbalances do contribute to some of the tactical decisions that you can make. And these different frutti are, of course, available to all players, and so no one player will be stuck with more costly but less effective frutti, unless they willingly choose that option. Here we should also mention a problem that was actually resolved after a conversation with the developer. We originally thought that the Royal Frutti Fugu might be way too strong, and it felt a little bit like a game breaker. But a simple rule clarification resolved this problem. So please check below the video for more information about the Fugu frutti. Frutti di Mare definitely wants to bring out the fun in a board gaming night. And after one particularly epic game, the next day our friends were still lamenting over their defeated frutti and discussing battles between lobster and shrimp. So it is certainly a surprise for this year's board game releases, and we highly encourage people to check out Frutti di Mare, Veni, Vidi, Antipasti, while still taking into consideration that it is a longer game with player elimination. Overall, Frutti di Mare, Veni, Vidi, Antipasti is a fun, engaging grid movement and battle game that features lots of player interaction, an incredibly fun and adorable theme, and provides for some really great game night experiences. The game often can be too long for what it is, but it is definitely worth it to check it out if you are looking for a game that plays up to 6 players, creates a great table atmosphere, and features a unique, fresh theme.
Thank you for watching Games Up. See you next time.